Hi, everyone. I'm Amber.
And I'm the other Amber.
And we're really excited to be here with you today to show you some really awesome apps that integrate with Google Classroom. Okay, so I am Amber Dugan, and I'm a technology teacher in Hayesville. I taught fifth grade for 9 years before moving into an not a technology teacher position. I have 11 years of teaching, and I have a master's of instructional technology. And there's where you can find me. Email, you can find me on Twitter. And obviously, I'm a certified trainer, or I wouldn't be here right now. So I'm a trainer.
And I am Amber Marshall. I am an instructional coach in Hayesville. And I have previously taught elementary and middle school. I kind of bounce around between both of them because they're both fun to teach. I have taught for 10 years before becoming an instructional coach. And I also have my master's in instructional technology and an LMS. And I am also a certified trainer. You can find me at amarshall@usd261.com and then on Twitter with Mrs. Marshall261.com. And I'm happy to be co-presenting with Amber today. We often do this, not just because we have the same name, but because we just like working with each other.
We're going to be doing lots of that, switching back and forth. You can see us actually in here. One of us is running around the table. So Amber and I go way back. We got our bachelor's degree together. And so we've known each other for a long time. And then a few years ago, Amber moved into my same school district. So we now work together, and we were friends before. And we are regularly called the Ambers in our school district. Makes it easy, I guess. All right. So before we begin, go ahead and post your questions to the chat if you have them, and one of us will be watching that. And on the web page that you use to get to this, there is an attendance form and also the resources. This presentation will be attached there too. Also, if you want to find today's presentation, if you go to this www.amberdugan.com and then go to presentations and the 2021 Google Summit Power Up, which I will show you. Oh, I already went there. Go back home. So if you go here and then go to presentations in this 2021 Google Summit, then you will have this presentation right here as well. So one of the things that I love about Google is how well Google plays with others. Really, most websites and a lot of the things that we use have a way to integrate with Google. And even if they don't, a lot of them are working on it because Google just does a really good job of making sure that it's open and that it works well with others. And so all of these websites that we're going to show you today work well with Google. They integrate with Google Classroom, but they also will work well on their own. So if you don't use Google Classroom as your LMS and you use something else, they will still work, but we will show you specifically the ways that they integrate with Google Classroom. One more thing, when you log into any of these apps, if you want to use them with Google Classroom, you need to make sure that you're logging into them with the same Google Workspace account that you use for Google Classroom. So when you get into these websites, anywhere you see login with Google, that's what you're going to want to click. Don't create a different login. You want to log in with that same one so that way it can connect with Google Classroom.
All right, back to me. So I'm going to take over the first app, and that is TeacherMade. So TeacherMade is a program that makes any PDF or other digital document interactive, making it kind of allows the students to write on it, matching it, and then once they do that, then it auto grades for you on the website. So this one does connect with Google Classroom in that you can add the link to the assignment in the Google Classroom. It is a freemium, and I believe it's about $50 a year. And that one will actually, when you pay for the subscription for it, it will actually then submit your grades to Google Classroom. So it'll actually be connected. So the free version, you can put the link on the Google Classroom, but the grades stay in TeacherMade. With the paid version, it will transfer those grades over to Google Classroom. So let's see what TeacherMade looks like. When you go to TeacherMade, like she said, you're going to want to sign up with your Google account that you have for your school district. So that way it integrates with Google Classroom a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and open it up in an incognito window. So that way it's not messing with anything else. So I'm first going to show you what it looks like as a student. So I'm going to go in as one of our students on our Google Classroom. And right here, I'm just going to, as a student, I'm going to click there and I'm going to click on the link to go into TeacherMade. And then when you're in TeacherMade as a teacher, you'll allow the students to log in with their Google account. So that way it's taking up their information. So I'm going to click there. And we'll be test 1. And here it is. So this is what it looks like from the student view. You can see the PDF there, and there's different places for them to type their answers. So I'll just fill it out really quickly as a student, so you can see what that looks like. Let's straight waterfall, and that's a lake. Okay, so you can see that there's already little blanks for the students to fill out because this one is a fill in the blank type 1. Like I said, there's other things that the students can do, but this is the one I chose for this. Then the student will click submit and it'll ask them to review. They'll click yes. And at this point, they cannot change any more of their answers. They don't have access to it. So we're going to go ahead and click the X on that and go in as a teacher and see what it looks like from the teacher standpoint. So if I go into teachermade.com, I will log in. Remember that sign in with Google is really important. Okay, and so as a teacher, I have one assignment right here. It's the landforms fill in the blank. So I'll click on it to see how my students did. So you can see right here that 3 out of 3 students have completed it. So I can click on that and then I can see my student scores. So right here, you can see what their scores are. It does assign it orders it from alphabetical order from their first name, which I know was a little bit frustrating for some of my teachers this year. But once you're in here, if you click on the 3 little dots over here, you can review the submission. So I can click on it and see how they did, see which ones they missed. I can make any comments and I can return it to the student. Returning it to the student means that they will have the option to edit again if it's already graded. But once it's graded, it'll be in your grade book unless you click the regrade button and then it will regrade anything. And then you just click over as you go through the students to see their different answers. So it's pretty easy. You can also, if you want to send it back to everyone, you can make sure to click all the students and this actions button up here. You can rescore it here. And you can also print them all off or send them to a CSV file and you can print them off as well. So that's kind of what it looks like. Up here, it's kind of important, but I'll show you what it looks like exactly when we're actually making an assignment. And this share to Google Classroom, again, it's only going to share the scores to Google Classroom if you have the paid version or the pro version. With the free trial, you just kind of write the scores down. At least that's what we did. Okay, so actually making a worksheet is very, very easy. Let's see here. Click on Create Worksheet up at the top. and then you title it. Hopefully you give a better description than I do. And then down here, you're going to drag and drop the files, or if you click on it, it will open up to actually put the, oh, thank you. Put it on there. So let's see. I have my Landforms PDF right here, and it'll add it to it. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others. There we go. If you have more than one, if you have a PDF that has more than one page, it will let you select specific pages, and then you can take the other pages off and it won't include it. And then once you have everything how you want it, you click Make My File. And that's where you go in and you add those text boxes and any other kinds of question types that you want. So this up here is your main menu. Again, that short answer, fill in the blank, you would just click on it and you just click and drag to make it. In order for it to self-grade, you do have to click the edit short answer. It'll say edit and then whatever type of question you have. If you click on that, then you can put the correct answer here. You can choose whether they have to match your case upper or lower or to ignore the punctuation marks. And then you click Save Changes. You can also change the number of points too. And then while it looks like it says Glacier on here, remember you're creating the answer key on this one. When the students see it, it'll look like what you saw with the student where they just have the little box that they can type in. So some other things that you can do here, you can have a drop-down menu. You can do long answers. So this would be your short answer and the P would be your long answer. This is the matching. The matching is really cool, but it took me a little bit to get used to how to put the matching on the paper. So you kind of have to play around with it a little bit. True and false, multiple choice, check boxes. This hotspot area is if you had a map on here and you wanted them to select the state of Kansas on the map, you would make a hotspot on that state of Kansas. And as long as they clicked in the hotspot, it would make the answer correct. There's math questions. And then this is a text. If you want to put like directions on it, you would use a teacher text because it would be the words that you're putting on there. You can add images, color block or erase anything. You can add audio files, links to any websites. And then all the students will have drawing tools, highlighters, and erasers on theirs. So if you did want them to draw on there, that is an option as well. So once you have your worksheet how you want it, you would just actually click the X over here and close out the worksheet. And that's where you will go to actually assign it. So to assign it, you click on My Worksheets. And you will click on the 3 dots next to the worksheet that you want to assign. You click Assign Worksheet. You can also make copies and edit from here too. And it asks how this assignment will be delivered. If you're in the free version, you just have to deliver it through TeacherMade. But notice that if you have the pro version, you can deliver it to Google Classroom, Canvas, and Schoology. Since I don't have the pro version, I'm just going to click TeacherMade and then click Next. Here is where I always select that the students will be using their Google account. So that way I make sure that it matches up with your Google Classroom. And then you hit Next. Here's where you can decide what score will be displayed. It's automatically on the percentage, but if you want to do points earned, you can choose that. You can also choose whether it releases their score when they turn their assignment in, or if you have to release the score to their students, and then what information students see when the work is returned. Then you click Next. And again, you have lots of options for what students can do on the assignment. Press Save. And here is that URL where you can copy it and paste it somewhere else. Or if you click Share to Google Classroom, it'll open up the Google Classroom where you just click the classroom that you want. And it opens up an assignment like this, which is what you would be used to seeing in Google Classroom. Okay, that's pretty much all we have for Teacher Made. It's a really awesome program. I had a lot of teachers use it this year with both in person and when they were, and when they were teaching virtually. I'm gonna have to let you get back on that. All right, moving on to Amber Dugan.
All right. The next one we have is Screencastify Submit. So many of you have probably heard of Screencastify. It's a screencasting software where you can take video of your screen. And if you've watched tutorials on YouTube for pretty much anything that has to do with technology, you've seen a screencast. And a lot of us as teachers have made screencasts. I know I have made instructional videos for my students with screencasts pretty often, made a screencast pretty often. And for training, I definitely have made a lot of screencasts. What's different about Screencastify, and I shouldn't say it's different, it's actually part of Screencastify. So Screencastify Submit allows you to assign screencasts to your students in your Google Classroom. So instead of just the teacher being the one creating the screencast, you can actually have students submit screencasts back to you, and they are turned back in inside of Google Classroom. So if you have used Google Classroom and are used to the grading interface that's inside of it, it uses the same one as any of your other assignments. And like I said, students can turn in those videos through Google Classroom. So I'm just going to click on my link here. If you just go to Screencastify, just screencastify.com, if you already have an account, then you just go to My Account, or you can go to this Get Started for free. But if you click on this My Account, inside of Screencastify, you can see we're running a lot on these computers. You have your recorded edit, and then there's this submit right here. So it's all inside of Screencastify. One cool thing about this submit is that it does not require a Chrome extension. So you do not have to have your students install anything into their Chrome browser, or you don't have to have your Google admin get that approved. So it doesn't require any extension. And you can see that I have several of them that I have used for trainings in the past year. One thing that you need to know is that Screencastify is a freemium website. So there are lots of things you get for free, but not everything. There is a 5-minute time limit for any screencast that is made in a free account, and you can only have one open assignment at a time. So that's kind of the downfall to the free, but that's how it is when you have a freemium. So I have already created this one, but I'm going to show you how to make a new one. So I'm going to click on this new assignment. It says maybe later, so I'm going to close this one because I can only have one assignment open at a time. So I've closed that one. I'm going to go to new assignment. And you can choose to go to Google Classroom or to just make a link. So if you're using a different LMS, you could definitely use this. And then those are just put in your Google Drive. But I'm going to click on this Google Classroom, go to next, and you can choose when your students are recording what it is that you want them. So if you want them to have their screen plus webcam, you would click that, or just a webcam or screen recording only. I'm going to go with the screen and webcam and go to next. And it's going to have you give it a title. So I'm just going to call this the test assignment. We're both very creative with our assignment names. And I'm just going to make this video. Again, you should probably give better directions than that. I'm going to click next. And then I choose which class I want it for. And I can choose which assignments, your points, your due date. And then you can choose a topic. So I'm not going to put it in a topic, and just click assign. And that's it. Super easy. It can take a little bit to actually do the assigning, but I'm going to go over into the student account so you can see. I'll go ahead and close out of that stuff. So you can see what, I went to the wrong one. This is what happens when you have a lot of things open. Okay, so I have this introduce yourself that I created yesterday, and the student would just go in and click on it, and now it's closed, so it's not going to let them do anything. But that's one from yesterday. I'm going to go to this test assignment, click on that, and when the student gets in, I feel like I'm buffering because I keep having to stop to wait for my computer. Wow, it's being very slow. All right, I'm going to go back over to the teacher one and hopefully that loads up while I am doing this. So now if I go into Google Classroom as a teacher, I just click that view on Classroom, but you can also just go to Classroom the way you normally would. It's going to show me this. I'm going to go back and show you. So I created a screencast yesterday so I could show you what it looked like for a teacher. So I'm going to go into this introduce yourself, and you can see I have 1 turned in and 4 of them are still out. But if I click on that one that's turned in, it's going to open up the grading interface. And if I click on it, it's going to load the video right here in this window for me to watch. And then I can grade it just inside of the Google Classroom interface. And I go back over and see if it's loaded up inside of. Oh, and there it is loaded up finally for the students. So on the student side, all they have to do is click on it and press record. Now I can't do that right now because my camera is in use. So, but they would just click record and it's not going to probably show anything over here. And they would choose which screen. They would get their countdown. Oh, it is letting me do the video. And they would do their screen casts and then they stop when they're done. And all they have to do is click submit and it is turned into Google Classroom. So there's Screencastify Submit. It's a nice alternative to some of the other video platforms that we have because it goes right to Google Classroom.
All right, I'm back. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about is called Edulastic. This was one that I found a couple of years ago, and we've been using it throughout our district as an assessment tool. And it's really interactive, and the kids enjoy it because it's a little bit different. But I like it because it provides me with a lot more data than most of the other assessment type programs out there. So Edulastic, it is a formative assessment tool. This one also auto grades questions as long as they're able to be auto graded. There are technology enhanced questions. For example, there's the drag and drops. If you're doing math, you can plot points on a graph, lots of other different things. They have a lot of already made assignments out there, but you can also create your own as well. And of course, it integrates with Google Classroom. It is also a freemium. I've not paid for the subscription ever because I can get as much as I need from the free version. But if you're really big into data and you want some of those extra data points, paying for the pro version might be worth it for you. Okay, so with Edulastic, we'll go in as a student. So we are students. We'll just click on the Edulastic assignment, and then they will also sign in with their Google account. So let's see if this will work for us. So they'll click this sign in with Google. That way it all syncs up to your Google Classroom. And we'll be test 1. All right, so when the Edulastic window pops up for them, their dashboard, it will look a little bit like this. Okay, so what happened? The reason why I went straight into the assignment is because they clicked from the assignment linked here. Now, students could also just go to edulastic.com and click on the assignment from there, But the nice part about that Google integration is that it makes it so much easier for the students to be able to get onto that assessment. That's why I like linking it into my Google Classroom. Okay, so right off the bat, this is a drag and drop question. So they would take their drag and drop it into the little area right here. Sometimes it takes me a couple tries to get it in there. And then they would just go on to the next and it submits the response. So I'm just going to type in some answers for this. Notice when you start typing, this window pops up. You can do fractions, mixed fractions. You can do exponents, brackets and parentheses. You can do decimal places, as well as the creation of equations here, less than, equal to. So there's a lot of different things in here for students to be able to do, even with just the regular like short answer questions. And again, I'm just going to start typing answers. I don't really remember all of them. Now, when the students, if they want to bookmark a question, they can bookmark it, and that means it kind of flags it for later on. If they aren't sure about their answer and they want to go back to it. They can also skip around to questions by clicking this and going to specific questions. Here's another drag and drop. Notice that they have to make the area go blue in order for it to go in there. I'm almost done. And then they hit the submit button. Now it will ask them to double check their answers. If it has that yellow, it means they bookmarked it and they need to go back and look at it. There is an option also to upload their paperwork. So if you want them to, if it's math and you want them to be writing things down, they can actually take a picture of their paperwork and upload it within Edulastic. And then they just click submit. So I gave them the option to be able to see their feedback right away. You can also choose as the teacher that they wouldn't see their feedback right away, that you would send it to them later. And then they can actually go back and review their individual responses. So that's what it looks like from the student side. Let's go in as a teacher. So again, as a teacher, you just go to edulastic.com, sign in with Google. So that way everything is going to sync with each other. And again, it probably takes a little bit longer just because we have so much going on. Okay, so this is the teacher dashboard. You can have as many classes as you need to over here. And again, to get a new class or to sync with Google, you can click the new class and you can actually input classes, or there's this sync with Google option right here. So when you click that, it'll let you sync any of the classrooms that you have in Google Classroom. Okay, so to check the assignment, you'll go into the class. And here's kind of the power behind Edulastic is when I click on here and I go to the live class board. As a teacher, while students are doing the assignment, you can have this live class board up and it gives you real-time data on how the students are doing as they're taking the test. I want you to note the little like line, squiggly line going through here. That's actually how much time students were spending on that specific question. So you can see some students were spending more time on certain questions and less time on others. I think that's a really cool one. Then you can also see how students are doing on here. You can see this is all the students together and the averages on each of the different questions. There is partial correct questions, so you can have them, they get part of it right and part of it wrong. If you have to manually grade, you just go in and you manually grade the different questions that you would need to. Now here for our data people, going to the standards-based report, because I have added our Kansas state standards on here, it will tell me how my students are doing on the different standards. So if you have multiple standards, you can tag each question with that standard and it will tell you their mastery. So over here, this is kind of general for the whole class. And over here is each student and how they're doing on that specific standard. So that's one thing that I really like about it. So that's what it looks like on the teacher end. Now, when you want to actually create an assignment, you're going to use these two down here. This one is the an item bank, and this one is the assessment bank. You can decide whether you want to start a whole new one or if you want to use some of the questions that are already in the library. You would find those questions over here based on your standards and what subject and grade level. And then all of the questions that go with it are up here. And they are also, they'll tell you kind of like multiple choice and classification, kind of what they are for each of them. Okay. So if I want to create a test, you just go to the test and click new test. And you can do it from scratch, or if you have a PDF, you can upload the PDF, enter the test name, and we'll stick with 4th grade math. And then you go to add items. And again, it lets you have that library of items based on what you said, or you can create a new item. And here are all the different types. So you can kind of see all of the different types of questions that you can do. There's a lot of matching, multiple choice, fill in the blank, classifying where there's the drag and drops. There's writing. If you have a passage, it will put the passage on one side and the questions on the other, kind of like a state assessment. You can highlight specific areas, which are the kind of those hot spots, math questions, and different types of graphing. So this is right here. The best part of Edulastic is the fact that it gives all these different types of questions that you can choose from. So then once you create your test, to assign it is really, really simple. Let me just pick a random test that's on here. We'll just do this one. Once you find a test you like, you click assign. And then it will let you assign it to a class. So if you're synced with Google Classroom, once you click select a class to assign, all of your classrooms will be on there. You just select the class. You can choose to do all students, or if you need to do specific students, you can do that. Changing the date, whether it automatically starts on the date or if you want to manually start the test, and then any tags that you might have on there. There is a test behavior here, so you can choose what type of test it is, whether or not you want to release those scores, or if you want to do partial credit, all or nothing, not penalizing for incorrect, or you have to consider each item when you're deciding that. And then once you have everything you want, you click assign. And here is where you would either share to Google Classroom or copy the link and add the link to Google Classroom. So if you click on the share to Google Classroom, it says sharing assignment is in progress. And then assignment is shared with Google Classroom. So if I go into the Google Classroom, I should be able to see it. Let's see if it worked. Let's see right here. So this one, so you have to be really careful with what you title your test, because that's what it will show up on Google Classroom. And again, once the students click on it, they just have to click right here and it takes them directly to that test. So that is Edulastic in a nutshell. There is a lot with it. So it's one of those you kind of got to play around with. on your own, and it really makes some great interactive assessments for your students to try out that are more aligned with how they take a state assessment. So it's a good practice for the state assessment as well. All right.
All right, it's our last app we're going to cover. So I am really excited to show this to my teachers in the coming school year. And I really wish that we would have it. We would have had it this last year, especially during our remote time. So it's Schoolitics.io, and it connects to Google Classroom. In fact, that's the only way you can use this particular one is with Google Classroom. And it gives an overview of engagement inside of Google Classroom. So I know last time I shared this, I heard lots of cheering for that one, because if you wanted to go see if students were really engaged in Google Classroom, besides just turning in an assignment, you have to dig pretty deep and dive pretty deep inside of Google Classroom to see those things. Whereas Schoolitics actually takes all of that information and puts it all in front of you in an easy to read format. And it easily tracks individual student engagement. You can look at individual students, you can look at your whole class, you can look at subgroups. It is just a really cool tool. So Schoolitics is another freemium, but the cool thing about it is that it is absolutely free for teachers to use. The paid version comes when a school or a district wants to use it to be able to monitor the Google Classrooms across their whole district, and that is a paid version. But for an individual teacher to use it, it is absolutely free. So I actually found out about this after the school year ended, so I don't really have any good analytics to show you, but Schoolitics shows a demo, which is also a really cool thing. I like to be able to see a demo before I try anything. So if you go to Schoolitics.io, it'll take you in. And to see the demo, you can either click here at the live demo or click on demo up here. Both of them will get you there. And it is going to bring up just a demonstration of what it would look like to use this with your classroom. Now, when it pulls up, the demo pulls up the first time, it's going to pull in administrator. Well, I hope these errors go away. Technology does not always do what we would hope it would do. So it's under administrator. Remember, that is the paid version. You need to go to the teacher if you want to see what a teacher would see. And let's hopefully, well, maybe if I try it from a different. Not sure. Never seen it have that error before.
It's going to say, are you in an incognito environment?
Is it in the incognito? I don't think so. I'll try it from this one. I may just have too many things open in that other browser. Well, that is. Get rid of some stuff here and see if I can get it to pull up. It looks like it's just going to keep giving us errors.
Well, it says our team has been notified of the issue, so it
must be a site-wide thing. But you can see over here on the side that there is a missing assignment report, which it would actually give you who was missing, disengaged students, underengaged students, kids that have gotten a lot of assignments turned in. You also would be able to drill down by student or go by classes. You can look at it by assignments. You can look at trends. There's just a lot of really good information here in the Schoolitics. I'm wondering if a lot of people are trying to use this at the same time.
excellent graphs too.
It has excellent graphs. It's just a lot of really good information without having to dive deep into Google Classroom. When you use this, if you want to use it, when you go to sign up, you would go in as a teacher. And the only option it's going to give you is to sign in with Google, because it only works with Google Classroom at this point. Yeah, it looks like the website's just having problems today. So this would be connected to my Google Classrooms, and you can see it's still not working. But the last time I went in here, it gave very, very detailed reports, and it's really cool and very, very helpful. So I hope that you enjoyed that. That is our last app that we wanted to show you today. If you want more ideas, there is a blog post by Casey Bell on Shake Up Learning called 85 Plus Apps that Integrate with Google Classroom. And she has a very long list and she updates it all the time. So if you want more ideas, go ahead and go to that. And both of us would like to thank you for being with us today.
Yes, thank you for coming and listening. We hope you learned a little bit of something. Get on the screen here. But yeah, thank you for joining us today. We'll see you later.
See you later.